Thank you, Wendy, for the introduction, and thanks for inviting me, and thanks to Marion for the hospitality, both of you. Thank you. I hope you find it interesting. I know there's one Irish person here. Paula. Anyone else? 2? Good. 3. All of you, most of you have walked Caminos, I assume, in Spain. If not, well, you should look forward to it. Like everywhere, there's a huge increase in the popularity of the Camino in Ireland. And in the last 10 years in particular. So, but even going back to 1983, I think they recorded 3,000 people only that got Compostelas in Santiago. 3 of those were Irish. Now, as Neville said last year, there were almost 300,000 people, and 6,500 of those were Irish. So, and there are more on the Camino. So there's a big interest. One of the big reasons the Irish can do it is because it's cheap to fly to Spain. From Ireland, it's you can fly to Spain for €30, which is $50 in return. It's very reasonable. So that's one of the reasons. And last year, 1.2 million Irish went to Spain on vacation, as you call it, holidays, as we say. Of that, 6.5 or 10,000 is not very many, but those people are now discovering the beauty of northern Spain, and particularly Galicia, which is a lot like west of Ireland, a lot like Vancouver and Vancouver Island. Okay. I'm going to speak a little bit about our society, a little bit, not much. We're not as impressive as your organisation. We try, and there are a lot of similarities. And obviously I'm going to talk about the Celtic Camino. What we do, we're mostly based in Dublin, and it's been a small country. It's easier to get people together. We're non-political, non-sectarian, non-denominational, which is important in Ireland. We're an all-Ireland organisation. Brexit is not going to impact us at all. Very important. We're going to ignore it totally. Our membership is tiny compared to yours. We have only just less than 300 members, but we sell 4,000 passports, and we charge a lot of money for those passports, €10. So that's where our income comes from. We have an information centre in Dublin, and I'll mention that a little bit more. That's at St. James's Gate, where the Irish used to start the Pilgrim Walk. It also happens to be right beside the Guinness Storehouse, which is the number one. It's the number one tourist attraction in Ireland. It's get 1 million people visiting it every year, So, and they're right beside us, so it's of interest to us. We're similar. We have a website, we have information days. We try and move it around the country. We don't have chapters like you do. We should have. So we're learning from Wendy and your organisation as well. Let's see. Mehel. Paula, do you know what a mehel is? Any Irish people? No. Basically, it's the Irish word for volunteering. Our chairman loves using it. It's where neighbours help each other out at harvest time. So we have a big mehel. We have a lot of volunteers just like here, and that's what keeps the organisations going. And the more you can give back, it's very important. Just like your organisation, you got to give something back. People, makes it tick, makes it work. Our history. The Irish have been going on Camino since the 13th century, 1210, and there's evidence of that. And it was mostly, obviously, by sea. They would go to A Coruña. And at that time as well, people would have to walk a long distance. There were no buses, obviously, to get to the ports, to get the boats. So, and there were pilgrim trails, and there's still some of those there now, and we're trying to incorporate them into what we're calling Celtic Camino, and more on that in a little while. These are the different ports that all around the country and all around our island, Dublin, Drogheda, Waterford, Kinsale. So these are places that there is evidence that the pilgrims walked to these places and got on a boat and went to Spain, mostly to A Coruña, but other places as well. I'm saying A Coruña because it's Gallego, La Coruña, Spanish, you know, so just in case you think I'm confused. Well, I am too, but okay. Now, Celtic Camino, and what's it all about? I suppose this really, I don't know if you have met Lanzada. She has spoken here, is she?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, so this is really all her idea. She's the CEO of the A Coruña Tourism, and she's from Santiago. So it's a important commercial, it's business for A Coruña as well. And there's history there as well. Camino Inglés, it's not new. It's there for all at the moment, but that's only 75. A Coruña is only 75 kilometers from Santiago, so you're not going to get a Compostela. A Coruña was the main port for not just British Isles, but during the medieval times when it was dangerous to walk across northern Spain. People used to go to A Coruña by boat. And if you haven't been there, it is a beautiful city. If you have been in Santiago, Santiago is nice in a different way, but A Coruña is a lovely city, you know. We talk about the 100-kilometer rule, and you know about that, right? We wouldn't have a Celtic Camino unless you had that rule. There are all the places in Galicia that you can walk in, but the one that you can't walk in to Santiago up to last year, that was 100k, was A Coruña. So now you can, and because of this, you know, Lanzada and A Coruña Tourism fought for to get a Compostela for walking that 75k. And the only way that the cathedral would agree on that was if they had some reason that they couldn't give it to other little villages that were 75k from Santiago. They didn't start arguing. Look, it's a long debate anyway, the 100k thing. It came into being in 1990, around 1990, you know, you needed. The people of A Coruña had no interest in the Camino. They didn't see it as any attraction, but now there's some interest now. So walk the 75k and 25k on another pilgrim path in a different country, and get it certified by an international association, and you can get your Compostela for walking that 25k and 75k. I think you probably all know that already, you know. Okay, so when you do it, you get a Compostela. I have some here, I'll show them. So here's our Irish Compostela. It's in 3 languages. It's in Gaelic, it's in Spanish and in English. And we got our own calligrapher to make this for us, okay? You can use, and you all should use, your own Compostela or your own credentials. And you can bring that to Ireland, and you walk your 25k in Ireland on one of the routes, and you get a couple of stamps, and you come to us and we'll organise that you can get a Compostela. You bring that to Spain, to Santiago, with your credentials that just get stamped on the way from A Coruña to Santiago, and present both, and they will give you a Compostela for that. They're the rules. Our system is honesty based, you know. We trust you. If you don't come with 2 stamps, well, you came all the way from Canada, you know. God. We believe you. We believe you. Our information centre is open from March, in Dublin, from March to October, on 3 days a week. Thursday, Friday and Saturday from 10:30 to 3:30, run by our volunteers. And it's been hugely successful. People love coming in. Paula, you came all the way from Carlingford to come down and just have a chat and talk to people. And you don't have to buy anything. It's good, you know, connecting with fellow pilgrims. It's working really well, you know. Of course, it's not all about the Compostela. The Camino is not all about the Compostela, but it is important to some people. Okay. Okay, our Celtic Camino routes. This is Dublin here. I don't know. This is our little island off the east coast of Britain, as they say. This is Northern Ireland here, but the society as a whole covers the whole country, the whole island. We have Caminos, Celtic Caminos here. I'm going to talk a little bit about them on the west coast. This is very similar to Galicia, very similar. Anybody been there? Yeah, it's very similar. It's where I'm from, so it's beautiful. Here, and I know several people, Jorg, have been in Dingle, and we have a Kerry Camino there. I'll talk a little bit about that. Another one down here in Cork, not in Cork. We've one in Waterford. These are the places that pilgrims would have walked to get a boat to A Coruña in the past. And we have one up here in Carlingford Peninsula, where Paula lives. Some of the routes have little walking festivals at weekends. So, you know, you can go along and pay your €10 and you will have a guide, and they will bus you back to where you started, etc., you know, for a small fee. You can also go anytime you want yourself, and you don't even need a map. They're well waymarked. You just you just do a little bit of research beforehand. Bring your passport or your credentials, get a couple of stamps, and do it yourself. Very, very easy, just like going to Spain. They're well marked. Most have websites or Facebook pages, and you can get that information there. Several of the routes are more than 25 kilometres, like Dingle, like the Kerry Way, should I say, or Kerry Camino. But you don't need to walk more than 25k, but it probably is worth spending 3 or 4 days walking these routes. Now, it's not like walking in Spain. You don't have albergues every 10 kilometres, but there are B&Bs, which relatively cheap. The bus service. So it's just not the same, but it's not bad, you know. So it's much quieter too, you know. Local bus service, not bad. Train service, taxis, you can get there. Obviously, the one in Dublin is so easy to get to, you know. In terms of the countryside, I mentioned it's very similar to Galicia, the west of Ireland. It's Celts. The weather is similar to Vancouver Island. Very similar. We don't get it as warm in the summer, you know. Same as Galicia. We don't have the heat that you do, but so you can walk any time of year. It's not a problem. We rarely get snow, so that won't stop you. Some of the routes are better marked and have more information than others. It's like going to the Camino. You have to work it out for yourself largely, you know. So, but it's all marked. Okay. This Wild Atlantic Way is not a walk. It's a drive. Okay. It's hugely popular in Ireland now. It's down on the west coast, right? It's 2,500 kilometres. I'm just saying this. You're not going to cut a Compostela if you do this. We're not. It's not nothing we do, you know. But if you happen to be doing a Camino and you want to do, I know people have done that, you know, gone for a walk and then drove around for, I'm not selling Ireland, but it's there if you want to do it. Okay. This is one of the first walks I'm going to talk about. It's where I was born and reared, so I know this part, the Croagh Heritage Trail. It's 60 kilometres, 3-day walk. Obviously, you can just walk any of 25k of it and get a, you know, it's towards the holy mountain, Croagh, the Reek, as I call it. I'll talk a little bit more about it. And it finishes in Clube. I have some photos that show you. And Torhaporic overlaps it, and it starts at a place called Ballintubber Abbey. I'll show you some pictures of that now in a minute. Excuse my Irish accent. Okay, this is where the Croagh Heritage Trail starts. It's in a little village called Ball. That's a round tower, which was built by the Normans. And, well, actually, it was built supposedly to keep the Normans out. It was built by monks, so there was a monastery there, you know, around the 5th, 6th century. Now, I have a lot of towers to show you. We have a lot of towers in Ireland, so that's just one of them. The funny thing about it, it was up to 1879, which is a long time ago. It was a major pilgrim site where people would start their walk to Croagh. I don't know if you've ever heard of Knock. I know the Irish people would have. It's where there was an apparition, it's a Marian shrine there in 1879. Coincidence, you know? So once that apparition happened in Knock, pilgrims started going to Knock. They stopped coming to Mayo, you know? They stopped coming to Ball. It's also in Mayo. It's very near. And in 1979, the Pope visited Ireland. Unfortunately, he went to Knock. He didn't go to Ball, you know, so we missed out there in a big way, you know, so it would have been nice. Sorry, wrong way. Now, there's the Holy Mountain in the distance. You can see it from 60, 70 kilometres away. Now, for Canadians, it's just a hill, but but still, it's 800 metres, you know. So, but it's great to see your destination. You can't see it all the time, but on clear days. And if you look at this path, I don't know if you can see that. That's the path. You know, you can see it from 60, 80 kilometres away. That's been worn out by over the decades, particularly in the last 30 or 40 years. I have closer up pictures, so you'll see that in a minute, you know. It's like a pyramid, you know, to a degree. Okay. On the way, on this route, this is Ballintubber Abbey. It's 13th, 14th century abbey. It's very popular. And you can also start from there, and it's the same destination to the Reek. More the Reek. This is the Reek. Okay? This is the path up. St. Patrick fasted here for 40 days in the 5th century. Okay, that's true, totally true, yeah. We know that. We know that for a fact. On the last Sunday in July, every year, it's known as Reek Sunday. So you have 30,000 people climb on that day alone, you know. There's a church on top. I have pictures of that. And unfortunately, we don't give you Compostela for walking that, climbing it either. But it's hugely popular. You see the path has been worn out. People climb it in all sorts of weather. Doesn't really matter. And people actually do it in their bare feet, you know, and that's kind of pretty rough, you know. So in the past, it was a night pilgrimage. Up to 30 years ago, this was done at night in the dark. And the problem with it, well, it's changed then because for health and safety reasons, and because it became too much of a party, to be honest, you know? Really. The pub stayed open all night. They had a license to stay open all night on that one night of the year, you know, so so there were a lot of accidents. But I actually climbed it at night, and it was unbelievable to be up at the top at dawn, and you'll see why. There are people climbing, and you see Clúbe, you know, where they say there are 365 islands, so they say you could have mass every day of the year. The Beatles actually owned one of those islands at one stage, you know, so. Here's the church on top, which, you know, the archbishop, the local archbishop, climbs it to be there for a week Sunday for the mass. And there's several masses during the day, you know, that day. But it's now a big tourist attraction in its own right. There's a church, so you can have a wedding. So people have got married up on the top of that. There is no other way up. You have to walk. So I don't know how she managed, but maybe she changed up there. And there's twice a year. This is not one image, just three. The photographers will understand this. If you're in a certain place and it's twice a year, it looks like the sun is rolling down the side of Crowpatrick, you know. So, but you might see it once in 20 years. The rest of the time it's raining, you know. So there's no chance. Okay, we'll move on to. There were two routes there, by the way. So now two more. We're back to St. Kevin's Way, which is in Wicklow, which is just south of Dublin. It starts in a place called Hollywood. You can get a bus, Hollywood, proper Hollywood. You can get a bus from Dublin. It's really well marked, very scenic. None of these walks, by the way, are very difficult. And on the two previous ones, you don't have to climb Crowpatrick. You end up in Clúbe. You don't have to. So they're not very difficult, okay? They're not very hilly. This is St. Kevin's Way. It's in the Wicklow Mountains. Remember, our mountains are just hills, free. And this is into Glendalough Valley. Outside Dublin, outside the Guinness Storehouse, this is one of the big tourist attractions. It's quite spectacular. It's a beautiful place to walk into. You walk down that valley into Glendalough. It's 30k, I think, isn't it? Or so, yeah. So it's a beautiful, easy walk, easy to get to, and bus back to Dublin, no problem, you know. Now, several people have been here on the Kerry Camino, which goes from Tralee out to Dingle, right? Dingle Peninsula. It's a really popular peninsula. You can continue walking here, the Dingle Way, as I say, an absolutely beautiful countryside. And if you want to windsurf, Jorg will tell you about windsurfing here. It's a beautiful part of the world, and it's very easy. It's really well marked. I have some brochures there it's again run by volunteers, you know, so fabulous. I know some people have already walked that. It's a beautiful walk. That's part of the walk. It's off-road as well. But obviously, this is a famous resident of Dingle. Jorg, you've seen him, yes? Yeah? This is Fungi, the dolphin that's been there for 20 years. People can go out swimming with them. You know, this is for Ireland. It's nothing for ye to have whales and dolphins around, but for Ireland, this is huge, you know, so they're very popular, you know, so that's part of Dingle, worth seeing. This is the village itself. It's a lovely little village, you know, so really popular place. Okay, this is the Dublin one, okay? And it's much more recent, but we feel that, you know, while over the centuries, there must have been a walk here. People had to walk to Dublin because there's evidence. So we picked a route along the coast that we thought would be picturesque. Say, okay, progress has, they built houses and factories and railways and everything. The original routes are gone, so they've disappeared. But there's lots of evidence of the Camino in Dublin. So this is Bray Head, where you start and you walk along the coast. It's, again, 30k, and you end up in our information centre or at St James's Church in Dublin beside Guinness Hop Store, you know. I have lots of pictures here, but that's, you don't start at the top, but you start down you start down here on the seafront in a place called Bray. Now, I actually live here as well now, you know, so, but it's a nice town. This is part of the route. This is in a part of it in Dalkey, and that's a guy's garden. And so Bono and U2 and all these rich guys live in this area. It's a lovely coastal walk up along here. And I don't know if whoever knows Conor McGregor, the fighter guy, no, anyway, he lives there, you know. He's not a nice person, don't like him. But he has a nice garden. This is Dalkey on the way in. This is all along this 30-kilometre walk, very easy. You can't go wrong. It's like the Camino, just keep the sun at your back and keep walking to the west. You know, this is keep walking to the north. There are people just swimming there. These are my own photos, you know, that taken with a little phone, nothing fancy, guys. That's a place called the 40-foot where people swim on the way into Dublin. There's another tower, Martello Tower. This was built 1800s to keep the French out. Sorry, French people, you know. I hope we're beating them, by the way, in France. Here's our Spanish connection. I'll try and pronounce this properly. Santiago Calatrava. If you're into architecture, he's the guy from Seville. He's built this bridge in Dublin on the way in. The Samuel Beckett Bridge. It opened in 2009 only. This is part of the walk. It's down through Dublin Docklands, which have been rejuvenated and look pretty good, I must say, you know. And it's a nice walk, you know. It's not like a normal city walk. There are ugly parts too, but you can avoid those. And you end up here, outside St James's Church in James's Street. You go by Christ Church Cathedral, you can get stamps there. You can get stamps along the way, sell those along the way. And you finish at St James's Church, and we could be there. Now, that sign is put up by the local parish priest. And we have tourists walking by, especially Spanish tourists, and they come and say, see this? And they come in for a chat. They love it, like, you know, so they come in and see the church. The church is in a pretty poor area of Dublin, like, but it's rejuvenating as well, you know, so. Just beside it is another St. James's Church that's deconsecrated a long time, but it's now a distillery. Whiskey distillery, yeah. And they have fantastic Camino stained glass windows in the cathedral. I don't have pictures of them, unfortunately. It's called Pierce Lyons Distillery. It's recently opened, you know. So we're trying to make a connection with them. So maybe they will give us a donation, you know, help us, you know. Okay, on to St. Finbarr's Way, which is in Cork, southwest. Again, 32k, and St. Declan's Way, which is in Waterford, is new. They're both very picturesque, very well marked as well, and promoted. The St. Finbarr's Way, it starts in a place called Top of the Rock, Drimmelee, you know, Drimmelee. It's a 2-day walk, and they have a festival there. And the actual, it's a commercial venture at the place called Top of the Rock, where you start, where you have these pods where you can stay in. They're new, and it looks pretty interesting. I haven't been there. it does rain in Ireland, so this is, and that's a little church in a place called Gugan Barra down in Cork at the end of that walk. And then across, this is the part of St. Declan's Way from Ardmore to, or Cashel to Ardmore. It's 96 kilometres, and it crosses, again, our mountains. And it's really well marked again. This is St. Declan's Tower down in a place called Ardmore, which is a beautiful, picturesque little village in Waterford. Okay. Now, Paula, yeah. We mentioned the Cooley Camino, where Paula lives from part of the time anyway, yeah? So she knows more about this. You know Paula? She's back there, back hiding. She lives around there, so she knows this place pretty well. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's not one that's really that well. There's not a lot of information on it at the moment, so I couldn't say look it up on the website or on the web. So we're not saying they need to do a little bit more work to make it a good route, but it is picturesque, right? Here are the purple hills that are in Carlingford, like. And this is a place called Schlieve. So we do get a little bit of snow, but only up in the hills. I'm getting close to the finish. Now, I'm missing. I'm missing a slide here, but don't worry. Again, I'm kind of covering the ones that are not really that well marked yet. Easy to find and that. This is a place called Fore Abbey. It's in the Midlands of Ireland. And you can walk from there to a town called Mullingar, where there's this statue and of monks with the scallop shell, and they have a little Camino garden there in the middle. They discovered in a monastery a burial ground and a lot of scallop shells. So they need to do a little bit of work on that, Okay, so that's mostly about the routes, okay? So it's very picturesque. They're all very easy to do, and the weather is never really that bad. And I'll talk a little bit more about how you get from Ireland to Spain, how easy it is. Okay. Now we have a Celtic Camino festival. I had some brochures in April in the west of Ireland, in Mayo. It's our first one ever. We're calling it Celtic Camino Festival. We're trying to promote ourselves a little bit more in Ireland with 300 members. And we're trying to promote the Camino. And the Celtic Camino, like us being Irish, people come in and ask us, why aren't we, in the past they would have said, why aren't you promoting walks in Ireland? Why are you just promoting walks in Spain, So the Celtic Camino really fits well with us now, so we can say, no, okay, you can walk 25k in one of these pilgrim paths in Ireland and then walk in Spain, So I think it's probably the right thing to do, so we should be promoting Ireland. That's what I'm trying to do here, I suppose, a little bit. But so we have this festival in Westport in April, and we have John Rafferty, Johnny Walker, if anyone know, he's a big blogger and important man for English-speaking people in Santiago. He's done a lot of work for English-speaking people in Santiago. John Brierley, from the guidebooks, and he's a great speaker, so we have him coming. He's a gentleman. So we have other guests. We have Lanzada. We have our own historian talking about history of the Camino in Ireland. We have some entertainment. We have this Camino movie, so hopefully you will have this movie here, hopefully next year. It's about, I'm not sure if you're aware, these Irish guys that rowed on a native curragh, a small boat. I have pictures, over 2 years. I'll come along to it. I'll tell you more. And we have a walk on the Sunday, so a 3-day festival, a bit of fun, and I know some people are coming to Ireland for it. We have Canadians coming. We have a lady from Japan, society with Spanish, Americans, Irish. So we're looking forward to it. It's a huge task, but we'll get through it, hopefully, you know. Now, getting to Spain. Obviously, the best way is fly, and as I mentioned, you know, it's really cheap. You know, 50 euros there, another 40 back. And we have so many options. You can fly from Dublin directly to Santiago, Vigo, Santander, Bilbao, Biarritz, or even Madrid, and all very cheap. You obviously book it on time. It's really reasonable. There is even going to be a car ferry from Cork to Santander, but it'll take 24 hours if you want it. But flying is the obvious way to go. Some people obviously walk as well, and they walk, say, from Carlingford, St. James's Church, down through Ireland, then down through France. Get a boat to France and walk through France and across northern Spain. I mentioned the guys in the boat. That's the curragh behind them. They'd spent 3 months over 3 years rowing this. Lots of weather issues. They're down to along the coast of Wales, down to past Cornwall, to France the first year, northern France. They stowed the boat there. This is what the movie's about. They stowed the boat there. And the next summer they came back and rowed from northern France down to close to San Sebastian, left it there for this winter, and then 2016 they rowed from San Sebastian over to A Coruña, and they came into, they got the boat brought into Santiago, tried to get it into the cathedral, but they weren't let. So they tried. They're crazy guys, you know. And sadly, this man here, Danny, last June, they decided they were going to go from A Coruña down, keep going. So they were in the boat just near Vigo, and was hit by a freak wave, and he actually died. You know, Danny died. The others survived. Okay, you know. So very sad. He was a great character. Well remembered. Danny Sheehy, a poet. And our Compostela, he wrote the Irish translation on our Compostela. So he'll be with us for a long time. A wild guy, a wild man. He looks innocent there, but I'll tell you no. So that is the movie, which should be ready it will be ready by the end of March. For showing, but it'll be worth seeing. It's mostly in Gaelic, but it's got subtitles in English, you know, so not a problem, you know. Paul will translate it anyway for you. So that's me, done, yeah? I think I started early, didn't I?
Can you comment on the easy availability of accommodation on the trips that take more than a day?
Yeah, it would be all B&Bs, but what a lot of people do would maybe base themselves in one place, get a taxi to the start and get a taxi back to where they started, and stay in the one place for 2 or 3 days. Or, you know, a local taxi would be very cheap, or even the bed and breakfast owner would drive you. You're only being driven 15, 20 kilometers, you know, so they will do that, you know, so no problem, you know.
I was just wondering, is the St. Kevin's route, is that part of the Wicklow Way?
No, it crosses it. It crosses the Wicklow Way, yeah.
At Glendalough?
At Glendalough, yeah.
Right. No, I've been there at Glendalough.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It's an amazing place. I've been to quite a few of the other places too, but
yeah,
most of my walking on the Emerald Isle was in Northern Ireland, where I've spent lots of time.
Okay.
But the Kerry route, that's on the Dingle Way, right?
The Dingle and the Kerry Way, or the Dingle Way, and the Dingle Peninsula, yeah.
Right.
So, it is beautiful, you know. Okay. Thank you for listening. Thanks for coming. See you in Ireland.
Just stay here, just stay here.